Okay, I think everyone who is going to come along is probably in by now, so we will make a start. Just to say good evening and welcome to the virtual consultation session relating to the proposed development at 3 Highland Road. Thank you for attending on what is a warm and lovely evening where you could be out in a park, I suppose, enjoying the weather. So the other members of the project team will introduce themselves shortly. The format for this event is there will be a presentation on the proposals of around 20 minutes, and then we'll move to a Q&A aiming to finish at the end of the hour. My name is Vincent and I'm facilitating the consultation on behalf of Elan Properties, which is the developer and owner of the site. So the way we do the Q&As in this is you submit your questions via the Q&A boxes, as I can see someone has already written in. So hi, yes. And then you can put those in anytime in the Q&A box, and we'll endeavour to answer them after the presentation, and I'll relay those to the relevant member of the team and they will answer them then. So and just to tell you a bit about kind of where we are in the process, after considering all the feedback we received from public consultation tonight and the event tomorrow as well, we'll be finalising the designs, and we plan to submit the planning application next month. Lambeth Council will then undertake its own statutory consultation, which you'll all have an opportunity to respond to as well. That's the statutory process after the application is made. And at the end of this session, we will be encouraging everyone to fill in a feedback form, which we've created online. And I'll post that in the chat for you, so you can click on it then and leave it up a few minutes. And that survey is the primary way really of us getting quantitative feedback from residents. So do please fill it out if you're interested, and if you've come along and you've got some information from the presentation, then I suppose it's a good way to make your feeling heard, is to do the survey. In the meantime, you can email us, of course, on highlandroad@secnewgate.co.uk. There's the free phone number and the free post, which will come up again on the screen at the end in bigger type, so you can see that. And it's now time for the presentation. So I'm going to hand over to Natalie first, I think. And Natalie, do you want to take it away?
Yeah, I'll start running through the presentation. So the site is at 3 Highland Road, and the development proposed, as Vincent said, is a demolition of the building that's currently there, and a redevelopment comprising a residential scheme of up to 20 units in buildings ranging in height, which we'll explain as we go through the presentation. So the design team, many of which are on the panel this evening, some of which are working in the background, are listed here. So I'm working with Centro Planning Consultancy. The architect is on the panel as well. And these are the supporting technical consultants that we're working alongside to advise us on various technical matters as well. So as I said, the project is a proposed residential development involving the demolition of the existing building and the provision of 20 new high quality homes, which will include a proportion of affordable homes and family houses, which will contribute towards Lambeth's housing need. Visually, it will also result in the loss of what is quite a dilapidated building at the moment, and the replacement with a much higher quality building that we feel has been designed to fit the local context. So this is the site in the centre, outlined in red within it's the eastern side of the Central Hill estate, which extends further to the west, adjoining the rear gardens of the properties on Gypsy Hill and Christchurch on the corner of Highland Road. And this slide just shows where the site is in relation to the rest of the Central Hill estate, right on the periphery of this corner, to the eastern edge. These are some images showing some of the wider context in and around the site. Buildings of note being obviously the listed Christchurch and the Vicarage building. And these are some closer view images of the site. So the bottom left image is effectively the vehicular access view into the Highland Road, into the site. The building in the picture in the middle is a view of the existing building that's there at the moment. And then the picture on the right is a view looking from the building out onto the green that is currently located in front, with the existing family housing around that green. This is an aerial view just showing the design considerations that we consider as when we're designing the scheme in relation to the constraints and the opportunities surrounding. So it gives a good image of how the site is located in relation to the existing family housing around the green, what its relationship is to the Gypsy Hill properties, and also to Christchurch and the church hall and the vicarage.
Natalie, let me just interject there. Milan, are you looking to take over?
I can take over, yes.
Ah, right, there we are. Yes, yeah. Sorry, that he had a bit of trouble connecting, but now we're here. You can have the architect take you through the presentation, and of course Natalie will stay on planning matters to answer questions. Milan, go ahead.
Right, fine. So apologies for the delay and technical problem. You can see the site, it's dotted in red. You've got the Christchurch to the left-hand side, got Gypsy Hill to the top of the page, which is east, and then you've got Highlands Road. If we could move to the next slide. This shows you what we started to look at. We looked at the orientation of the sun, east to west and south. We looked at potential issues, and you've obviously got the houses on Gypsy Hill, the windows to their rear elevations and their amenity space. Then you've got Christchurch, the hall, and the vicarage, and the windows that are in those elevations, and how they would affect the site. What we're mindful of is the vicarage is and the churches are below our kind of ground level. The site slopes downwards towards Highlands. We can see access. There's a number of access routes that allow you to get into the site, and there's a prominent feature of the site is the fact there's an awful lot of trees. There's tree screening to the vicarage and the hall, as is to the Gypsy Hill properties. Next slide, please. So this shows you our proposal. We've again highlighted the windows to Gypsy Hill and the church. You'll see that the distance from our building to Gypsy Hill rear elevation is 32 metres, and to the outriggers 27. At an acute angle to the church, or about 13.2 metres. So we've tried to orientate the building to provide our homes with amenity space as a buffer space to Gypsy Hill, and reuse the existing access route, which is on to the north of the site. Again, we've indicated the trees. We've had a tree survey done, so we know these are realistic. And this gives a good screening between all properties. Next. This is the ground floor plan. Firstly, to the left, you can see the access road that, and we're showing a vehicle. We'll have 2 blue badges in the basement area, but this area is also ideal for servicing of the properties. You get your Ocado and other service people will be able to park up, walk up to the houses and make deliveries. You will see that we've got houses which are coloured yellow, and they've got their own amenity space to the east of the site. If you look just north of properties 2 and 3, you'll see a heavy dotted line, and this is the existing building that was there. So what you'll actually see is that we've pulled our building back, which you could say lessens the impact on those properties and the garden spaces to Gypsy Hill. We've got the taller element to the left, and that's just simply because of the very nature of the site. To the front of the building, you can see we've introduced a child's play area and some further amenity space. Next, please. As an extra over to the units, we've provided a communal roof garden. We've tried to limit the views, but we have allowed access so that people can have views of the London skyline. This communal area is in addition to their own private balcony spaces. With the units to the right-hand side, we've provided further amenity space, and what we've tried to avoid is any amenity space overlooking Gypsy Hill gardens. Next, please. We've started to look at the materials, and what we'd like to do is create a plinth that's got quite a light but coarse texture. We've got reconstituted stone banding, and then we'd like to use a quality facing brickwork. We've used the reconstituted stone banding to provide some detailing. We've got recessed lintels over windows to create definition, and the windows would be set back as well as having ornate balconies. You can see the roof garden at the top of the building, and there's a small section where people would have views. A lot of that roof garden would be covered over for usable space. Next, please. We now move on to the elevation that you'd be standing looking. It's the west elevation, but you're looking east. You can see to the right-hand side that we've got the lesser units in terms of their density. We've tried to introduce greenery as much as possible. Then the slightly taller unit reflects the different ground level and the palettes of colour that we've proposed with the definition of recessing the windows. Next, please. Right, we've taken some strategic views and we'd like to take you through these. This is obviously Christ Church, so this is the existing view. Next, please. We've now moved slightly around the corner so we can see through the gap. So you've got the church, you've got Gypsy Hill dwellings there, and in the background you've got our proposed building. There are a number of existing trees there that do provide screening. Next, please. Again, we focused on the gap between Gypsy Hill and Christ Church, and you can see there are a number of trees there. There are a number of buildings, and our site is in the background, which we can see in the next slide. So that gives you an idea of where we would be. The tree, the proposed building peers over the top of the trees. The base of the building, I don't think you would see, simply because of the existing buildings. Next, please. This is a view looking east, and it's the access road. You've got the existing garages and existing buildings to the right. Our site is at the far end, and you can see a substantial tree and shrubbery screening to the left-hand side, which is where the vicarage is. Now, if we move to the next slide, we can see what we actually get. So slightly dotted is the outline of the building, which you'd never see because it's in the far distance. But you do there get to see our building over the tops of the existing gables. You've got the access road and the tree screening. Next, please. And finally, I believe we have an aerial view. It shows the surrounding area in context. If you look at our site and then slightly to the right, you can see the vicarage. Moving towards yourselves, you can see the hall and the church. Got Gypsy Hill residential units there. And we move to the next slide. We now show how our proposal is inserted in. We've included the trees to show what the screening is. And overall, I think we've managed to get a balance. We've respected existing properties and amenity space of occupants nearby. And then again, we've had to try and make a proposal that would work for our clients. Next, please. The benefits: we're replacing an old building in poor condition and providing new high quality homes. An uplift in homes, including family homes with gardens and provision for affordable housing is intended. Careful mix of massing materials, facade visuals will provide an uplift to the area. We would also see that we would minimise vehicle use to the site. We're only providing 2 blue badges, and that is welcomed. Better natural surveillance onto the green due to the occupants, as well as new landscaping, and basically tidying up the whole of that area so it's somewhere that people would like to live. Next, please. So the idea is that we have consultation in the coming weeks. We expect to submit an application towards the end of this month, beginning of next month, taking on board comments that we've received. The council, normally this will be deemed a major application, so they'll probably have a 13-week period. So the first 4 weeks or so is council consultation. We expect a determination September, October. Potentially we could look to start the works mid-2022, finishing probably about 15 months later. Next. And I believe it's back to Vincent for question time, but obviously I'm here to answer any questions.
Yeah, thank you very much. That's just a reminder there of the contact information. Highland Road at secnewgate.co.uk is the email address. Anything that isn't answered or we didn't get round to or we needed more info on, you can email us using that email address. And you've got the free phone and the free post there as well, should you wish to use that instead of email, or should you need to request a paper copy of the survey or something like that. Now there's some questions coming through already, which is great. So we've got a few to get through, so don't be alarmed if it takes a while. I will get to you. A couple of them are on similar themes, so I'll kind of roll those ones together. So the first one is about tenures of the properties, So we've got a couple people asking kind of more open questions about what tenures the properties will be, and then we've got others asking, are there any homes for council rent, and what's meant by affordable, and what the affordable will be. So Natalie, are you best placed to answer that as planner?
Yeah, I can answer that. The intention is that the scheme will need to comply with the London Plan policy on affordable housing, which their preference at the moment would be for London, a mix of London affordable rent or London shared ownership, or a mixture of both. It's not a council-led development, or indeed a development led by a housing association. So it will be, it's a privately led development, but there is obviously the requirement to comply with planning policy in relation to affordable housing. The final quantum of the number of units and the mix precisely will be discussed and agreed with Lambeth Council during the course of the planning application, and will be subject to viability testing in the normal way.
Right. So and London Plan policy then is what, 35%, is it?
Yes, it's 35%, but that can comprise different mixes between affordable rent and shared ownership.
Yeah. So that's what we're talking about: shared ownership and London affordable rent. Now, there was one that's probably for me, actually. How are you tracking numbers of people on this call and where they are located? When Homes for Lambeth did this, that came under the cover of COVID and claimed that IP addresses were sufficient. I mean, in fact, there's no need to track attendees to this and where they're located. In the survey, there is an option to put your email address and your postcode, and that is good for us, because it confirms to us where people have taken the survey from, and most of the people that have taken the survey will have attended one of these. But in terms of this, we can see the names of people and how many are attending, but we considered it would put a bit of a barrier on people attending if we made them register or say where they lived before they attended. Because if you think about if we did it in person, people could just walk in, and they wouldn't have to say where they lived or anything like that to get into it. So we want to mimic that openness as much as possible, really. So we're not looking to kind of track people or anything like that. We have the names and we have the numbers, and obviously if people want to contact us more, they've got the email address. Right then. We are moving on to some more questions. Now, a question which I think is going to be a recurring one about the Central Hill estate. What level of engagement with Homes for Lambeth and Lambeth Planning have you had so far? So what is their view of the proposal, with the wider prospect of the whole Central estate being demolished and rebuilt? And that is a recurring theme. There's another one here. Is it realistic to propose it when there's a large housing estate which Lambeth Council is proposing to demolish over the next 25 years? So the question really is, how does it relate to the Central Hill estate and what's going on there?
Could I input on that?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Right,
yeah,
okay, so we've been speaking to Lambeth for Homes probably for the last 2.5 years, and we've actually prepared a scheme for about 80 units that would have included the adjoining buildings that Lambeth Homes are slowly buying up. The problem that we've had is that this has been an ongoing discussion, and at the moment Lambeth Homes cannot say when anything is going to happen. So therefore our client took the view that he may as well take his site in isolation and take it forwards, and if in the next number of years something occurs with Lambeth Homes and he can incorporate his site into a larger scheme, then he's certainly open to that suggestion.
Can I also add to that, in terms of the planning process, We have had a pre-planning application with the council's planning department, and as Milan said, that's been discussed. Whether this is a premature application or not, that has been discussed at length with them. They're comfortable that this can come forward as a site that's in private ownership. It's not part of the wider estate, although it visually reads as it is. It's in ownership terms, it's not. And they're quite comfortable that it can come forward as an individual site. We feel that the design seeks to reflect what the existing housing that's there, whilst also optimising the built form right in that corner. And yeah, and that's been discussed. Lambeth Council were quite supportive of the scheme at pre-app stage, subject to obviously the detail that needed to go into. So we're comfortable that the scheme can come forward whilst not prejudicing the future development potential of the wider estate.
Yeah, okay. So there has been engagement on it. At the moment, it's going ahead independently. Now, there's a couple linked ones as well. Luke is asking, I'd also point out that this 7-storey building looks to be well above the tree line. Can you confirm that? And then on the other hand, we have another attendee saying, I like the way that you are using existing trees to provide screening. Will you be chopping down any trees? So is it above the tree line, and a bit about the screening that the trees are doing, and the maintenance of the existing trees. Milan?
Right, so we are on the ground floor plan. I did forget to add that we are actually proposing additional trees subject to Lambeth tree surgeon's comment. So we will add more trees. In terms of the building sticking above trees, in some instances it does, and in others it doesn't. There's a couple of very large substantial trees that it's probably slightly below, but then there are smaller trees that, yes, it is above those. So it's a mix, I would say.
Okay. There's a very straight ahead one on a height, actually, and there's a couple of people asking that. Why is it so tall?
It's simply a matter that we need to provide a sufficient number of units to make the scheme viable for the client.
There's a question of Natalie, go on.
Yeah, sure. Just to add to what Milan is saying there, the height and the massing and how the mass is distributed across the site has been tested a number of times through, even before the pre-application with the council in the kind of design development. And we've got heritage and views consultants that are advising throughout the project as well, who have analysed how the mass reads at various different viewpoints, because the Gypsy Hill is the levels locally do go up and down, so you do get various different viewpoints. We feel that the height is at a level that is appropriate in the context, given the views impacts and the views work that we've done, and against the height of Christchurch, which would still be, the most prominent tall building right on the corner of Gypsy Hill. We feel that it can accommodate a building of the height that we're proposing appropriately. Yes, it will be seen. There's no denying that it will be seen from various viewpoints, but we don't feel like it will be so significantly harmful to the local views.
Could I also add that we have to look at the design of the building, the proportions, and the way that the massing works. Proportionally, that height works well with the design. So that was another thing that we took into consideration. Thank you. Okay,
guys. It's a very simple one. Who is the current freeholder? That's Elan Properties, isn't it? They're the freeholder. Correct. Yeah, that's the freeholder and the developer on this scheme. A couple on carbon reduction and environmental factors. Can you build to passive house standard or better? And can you please make sure that you factor in embodied carbon with all the building materials used? And there's just a note there that Lambeth has declared a climate emergency. So question there, not only about the kind of future emissions, but also the embodied carbon in the materials. What can we expect to achieve there, Milan?
What I can say is that those are Lambeth's policies. So it's not, those aren't negotiable. Though all of those carbon issues we will have to incorporate into the scheme. So we're quite happy to support those requests, and not so much that we're trying to agree with people. It's not the case. It's that we don't have a choice, and therefore we believe in carbon reduction, and so therefore we will work to make sure that we conform to those policies.
Well, yeah, but on the specific question of passive house,
that is probably beyond Lambeth's commitment to the green agenda, you could say. That's something we can look at. I think we need, the next stage is that we'll have an energy consultant who we will work with to achieve the best energy strategy that we can.
Okay, yeah. So there's a commitment there.
Yeah.
Okay. There's more of a comment than a question just about viability. There might be an impact on the housing market from Brexit and COVID, and also being in the middle of a building site if Lambeth goes ahead with demolition. So just a question of viability of the scheme. I think we note that down as a comment, really. Question about consultation. So could we not have done an on-site consultation? Is maybe the virtual one is not sufficient. Well, in the depths of the pandemic, of course, the statement of community involvement, the SCI at Lambeth Council, was updated to reflect the fact that consultation by law had to happen virtually. You know, it wouldn't have been legal for us to come and meet people. I think we're moving out of that now, but the SCI still retains that commitment that Lambeth considers it reasonable that we are doing online at the moment. I think probably sometime next month people will start to move back to in-person consultation, but at the moment the regulations are such and that it would be very difficult to do an in-person consultation.
If I could just add, if we could have done personal consultations, we would have. It's obviously, it's a lot more enjoyable, and you get a lot more out of it by speaking to the local neighbourhood and hearing what they have to say. But until government policy changes, we have to stick to what we're obliged to do.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think everyone prefers it. I think the development team prefers it, and the resident normally prefers it. So definitely would have taken that up. But you know, I've done so many of these now that I'm kind of getting used to them. But still looking forward to getting back to in real life stuff, as it were. Right. Comment there about shared ownership. Not liking shared ownership in terms of service charges. Trees. Yeah, another one about the shared ownership.
Sure.
Just searching for some more for residents. This will be viewed as further salami slicing of the estate. A significant objection at Truslove House. I think that's a comment that we'll have to kind of take on board, really. The answer on kind of the relationship with Central Hill has been discussed. People pushing for more for carbon outcomes that are better than Lambeth's policies, already not fit for purpose. Yeah, more about carbon emissions. Lambeth Council do not understand or have calculations for carbon emissions. Do you have your own methodology, raw data and results, and will they be available for the public to see? Milan, can you enlighten us on that?
Yeah, Lambeth will have a series of conditions, and some of those will relate to the energy strategy that we've provided, and those are public documents because they're submitted to the planning portal. So yes, they will be viewable, and people can comment on them accordingly.
Okay. Another one about views here from within the green. It's very high, and the views that we've been showing are maybe from outside the estate. Milan, could you go back to a view that maybe takes it from as close as kind of, or in the round so that we can really see
the views that we've presently provided are the views that people walking along the street are likely to get. They're simply 4 views. You know, we could have done 10 views, but we decided to take the view that we just wanted to show views between, say, Christchurch and Gypsy Hill, from Highlands, the access road. I mean, in due course, we will be providing more views.
Yeah. Okay. Do email in if you're requesting more views, and we will try and get them to you as they become available. I think I've got to the end of the questions that are down there. Yeah.
Listen, sorry, I'll just add on the views point that we are agreeing with Lambeth Council a collection of viewpoints that they wish to see to help with their assessment of the visual impacts of the scheme from both near and far views. So as Milan said, this is just a small collection of views that were selected just for this presentation, but there will be a full suite of both close range and further range views available in the planning application.
Right. Yeah. Now it's not looking. It's looking terrible and not looking like any building around it. Milan, can you say a bit about the how you came upon this design?
Well, we can't follow the topology of the existing buildings on Gypsy Hill because it's of a particular nature. It's a conservation area. We've got Christchurch. We've got then the estate. It seems to us that we should take a relatively modern, contemporary approach and use good quality materials, and that's what we've tried to do. Some people will like it, some people won't. It's the very nature of design. Not everyone likes everything. So we feel we've responded to the site, and we believe that we'll be providing a quality building.
Is it going through the design review panel process?
I don't think it's big enough.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Perhaps
Thought that might be the case.
Natalie might be able to comment on that, but no, I don't think it's of a sufficient scale.
Yeah, my understanding is that it doesn't trigger the requirement to go to the council's design review panel just because it's not of a scale that triggers a requirement.
Yeah, it's not large enough. Okay.
Scrutiny anyway through the planning application.
Yeah, no, indeed. Now it's another comment about carbon and energy strategy. St. Lambeth just basically saying that Lambeth aren't very good at it. So we should be aiming to do better than Lambeth. So that is the clear steer from this group of attendees, is that they don't think Lambeth's requirements are sufficient. So they're looking for people to go several stages better than that, it seems.
We can take that on board, and what we can say is the Lambeth required standards are the baseline, the minimum, and we will work with our energy consultants to see how much better we can do.
Yeah. Okay. Now, question about overshadowing. So obviously this is a larger building than the one existing. So what can you tell us about overshadowing onto neighbours?
I think the existing trees provide an awful lot of shadowing. We're set back from the trees. So if you look at where we are positioned, there's a space when you get to those trees on, say, Gypsy Hill or to the north for the church, and there are tree screenings there. So those there's already shadow cast there. I don't believe that we'll be making it that much worse. I mean, if you look just below our site, you've got that cluster of trees. Even with our building in there, I can't see. And if you look at the orientation, top of the page is west, the bottom is east. The sun moves around. Those trees already cast a shadow in front of our building, and you could say those trees will actually cast a shadow over our site. So I don't think we're making it worse.
Okay, yeah, I mean, things like daylight, sunlight will all form part of the. You'll have specialist consultants on that, won't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, there's this daylight consultant who's been involved in the project, and the planning application will be accompanied by a full daylight modelling report that will take a comparison between the existing and proposed, look at the overshadowing and daylight impacts to adjoining window receptors, but also looking at the quality of daylight that would be received into the new properties as well. Yeah,
and then there's a comment that's kind of related, but on the other subject, which is about privacy. So with the height and the balconies, it will invade the privacy of neighbouring properties anyway. So why add a roof garden too? The trees will not screen this. So what's the best image we've got for showing that then?
Well, if you keep the image that we have now, if you go back to the image, so yeah, if you imagine where the taller element, which is to the right, you've got that cluster of trees directly in front of our building. So if we are slightly protruding over the top, we're not going to be having any views to anyone. You'll see the trees and you'll see the skyline and beyond. If we then look to the Gypsy Hill properties, you can actually see that there's a substantial tree screening there, as well as the fact that we've only got 3 floors, as well as the fact we're 27 or 32 metres away from the rear of those properties. I don't think there's a privacy or overlooking issue at all.
Yeah. Okay. And there's a distance obviously between those Gypsy Hill properties and your red line there, your properties.
Yeah.
What distance is that? I think you've got an image there.
If you go, yes. So to the closest point of the outrigger, it's 27 metres, and to the main body of the building, it's 32 metres. What I would say is with that, the lower buildings, where possible, we've put bedrooms facing onto the the garden, so to speak, of Gypsy Hill, and we've put the lounges and amenity space facing the squares. So again, that's to reduce any privacy or overlooking issue.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, clearly it's coming up as a concern, so it's something people will expect to be covered fully in reports when you submit. We're getting that clear steer, I think. Okay, guys. Any other questions in the last 10 minutes or so? Do send them in, and also you should have the survey link. Just put something in the Q&A for me if you haven't seen the survey link, and I'll get it over to you via that.
Just to add as well, Vincent, there was a question about the roof terrace. So that's there as children's play space. Naturally, children need a larger space to play on than a balcony. So that's the reason for that's inclusion. And that would, of course, be tenure blind as well.
Right. And you'd be seeking to meet or exceed the policy on play space and amenity space and that, yeah?
Absolutely.
Okay. Right, we'll just give a few more minutes for any more questions to come through, I think. Right. I mean, there's a question about how much one of the homes would cost. I mean, I would have thought it's difficult to say at the moment because they haven't been built yet.
Yeah, that's a very almost impossible question to answer at this stage. Housing market is changing rapidly at the moment after the events of the last year or two. And, with the intentions of the client to build out at the moment, it's impossible to predict what property values and the market will be like upon completion of the units. So yeah, sorry, it's just an impossible question to answer at the moment. Yeah,
just a bit. Go on.
I think if we all knew the answer to that question with our crystal balls, we would be placing bets on the lottery, and making sure that we would get the benefit of that. So no, it's a guess at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably a kind of a relative range that one could expect in that area for something of that size, but it would be impossible to say really. Now there are a couple more coming through now. Just a bit of clarity on the trees. We're about chopping down any trees. Are we losing any mature trees? That should be simple. Yes or no?
No, we're not.
No. Okay. All right. That's done. Right. What about refurbishing and retrofitting the existing building? Was that considered?
It's in pretty poor condition. It would be easier to demolish it and build new. We considered it. The client looked at it, and in order to provide sufficient new homes, it was deemed that a new build was the better route.
Yeah, and can we just state again the not the tenure, but the size mix, the 1, 2, 3 beds within the 20? Because there's a question, just a bit of clarity on that.
Okay, my colleague Marish will give you these figures.
Hi everybody. So as Natalie said, the final housing mix will differ on the viability and the outcome of the process. But at the moment we have 5 family, 5-person, 3-bedroom units, and we have another 15 2-bedroom units in the in the total element of the build of the project.
Okay.
So it's 20 units in total.
Okay, so 20 units, 5 3-bed and 15 2-bed.
Yeah, correct.
Okay,
Correct.
all right. So that one we can tick off. Now, a bit of a question on the information we provide as part of the application and independent verification, because Lambeth's work on the Hondo Tower proposal in Brixton was referred back to the GLA after Lambeth was found to have misled the GLA on residents' views as well as on loss of daylight. How can we reassure residents that any of the information we provide has been independently verified? Luke? Yeah.
I mean, I can probably answer that one, having dealt with similar sized applications within Lambeth Borough. So as a matter of course, I can't speak for the Hondo Tower, obviously, but as a matter of course, the council, in my experience, will always have the sunlight daylight information independently verified by one of its own consultants. Same goes for the viability appraisals as well in terms of affordable housing output.
Yeah.
We'll also have views, photo montages taken from a company that verify that they are real and accurate. So that will actually give some comfort to people to know that what the images are is exactly what they'll be getting.
Yeah, it's pretty standard standard practice really for a local authority. The developer will do its work, and then the council will verify that with their own independent consultants. Now, question about existing residents. Are there existing residents, and if so, what will be happening with them?
The property at the moment is rented out on a HMO basis, and I spoke to the company that are leasing the property, and they are struggling to rent the rooms out. So it's rented accommodation, but they are struggling to rent the rooms out. And it's a leased property. I don't know when the lease runs out, but I presume there's an agreement somewhere within the lease documents that when it's appropriate, they'll be given good notice, and we can then move on to the development.
Yeah, and there's a couple follow-ups on the question about the second the verification of the consultant work. The opinion seems to be coming through. I would suggest from attendees that given that it was the council found to be dishonest, there is very little trust going on between residents and Lambeth on that. So I would suggest to the development team, unfortunately, that saying that Lambeth will take care of things hasn't provided reassurance. But I think you're just going to have to take that on board, and it's not actually literally Lambeth that does the second work. It is consultants that they will have found, but I don't think they have any skin in the game to try and mislead on this, do they, Luke?
No, absolutely not here.
Yeah, I think Hondo Tower is a bit different in the sense that they had a fair bit of stake in that one, but we'll go through the normal process, I think is the point on that.
Yeah, I think ultimately there's not much that the applicant can really do to control that process, because it's the council as the statutory decision maker alongside the GLA to ensure that they're making sound decisions in accordance with the Act, that the underpinning legislation. Obviously, as an applicant team, we on behalf of the client want to ensure that there's a legally sound decision that reduces any risk of judicial review at the end of it. So we would obviously oversee that the correct procedures are being followed as well.
Yeah, I mean that's a fair point. Okay, well we're at 7, and we said we'd do around an hour. So if unless there is any burning new question that we can answer succinctly, I would just say to attendees, do click on the survey link that I sent you earlier in the chat. If you haven't been able to get it, just email us later on. Highland Road at secnewgate.co.uk, and I will pick that up, and I will send you the link to that survey. Yeah, just more comments coming through about a bit of a lack of trust there between the parties, but I think we can only do our best on that and be open. Right then, well, if you're watching the football, enjoy, and we will see you later. Thanks for coming, and please complete the survey. But apart from that, goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.